In today's tutorial, we'll learn how to make this convertible multi-weight bag. We'll start with the center panel using a front post double crochet ribbing pattern. Then add the edging and attach the metal tag and magnetic buttons. Next, we'll make the side panels and finish by creating the remaining cord for the strap or handles.
What the dog doing?
This versatile bag can be worn multi ways with detachable straps, so easy to switch styles for any occasion. For the materials you will need: 3-ply cotton macrame cord, approximately 420 grams. This yarn is classified as medium or size 4, also known as worsted weight, and is made of 100% cotton. You'll also need a 6mm hook to make the foundation chain, 5mm hook for the main stitches, metal plate as an embellishment, magnetic buttons 18mm, 4 spring rings 19mm, sewing thread and needle, scissors,
What the dog doing?
darning needle, and stitch markers. And here are the abbreviations used in this pattern in US terminology. Hey everyone, I'm Claire and welcome to Crochet Crafts. Join me as we learn how to crochet like pros. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Now grab your yarn and hook and let's get started. Use a 6mm hook for the foundation chain to create looser stitches, which will make it easier to work into the back bridge or back bump of the chain for row 1. Now make a slip knot with chain 32.
What the dog?
After chaining 32, switch to a 5mm hook. Now we're going to work into the back reach or back bump of the chain. For row 1, skip the first chain and start making single crochets into the back reach of the second chain.
What the dog doing?
Next, place a stitch marker into the first stitch. Now continue making single crochets across until you have a total of 31 single crochets. After completing 31 single crochets, place a stitch marker into the first and last stitches at the bottom.
What the dog doing?
Now to start row 2, pull off the working loop slightly, turn your work, then make a single crochet into the first stitch. Next, continue making single crochets across.
What the dog doing?
Again, place a stitch marker into the first stitch. It's important to pull out a working loop every time we turn to the next row to create looser stitches for the first stitch. And we don't use the chain 1 method as a turning chain because we don't want to add extra stitches to the sides. Next, repeat this step for rows 3 to 6, and you should have a total of 6 rows of single crochets for the first top band.
What the dog doing?
After completing 6 rows of single crochet for the first top band, we'll now begin the front close double crochet ribbing and the next row. Now as we begin the front close double crochet rows, we'll start counting back from row 1 again. First, turn your work and make a single crochet into the first stitch.
What the dog doing?
Next, mark the first stitch. After making a single crochet, we'll work a front close double crochet into the next stitch. Find the next stitch hole, then move your hook down to the next stitch hole, insert the hook, and make a double crochet around the next stitch.
What the dog doing?
So first, yarn over, and tie the loops on your hook. Find the next stitch hole. Move your hook down to the next stitch hole. Insert the hook and make a double crochet around the next stitch. So yarn over and pull through. Then pull up the loops to match the height of the stitch edges at the back. And complete the double crochet. Next, we'll repeat this pattern all the way across. Again, make a single crochet into the next stitch. Then a front post double crochet into the following stitch.
What the dog doing?
Now continue this pattern all the way across.
What the dog doing? What the dog doing?
At the end of row 1, work a front post double crochet, then finish with a single crochet in the next stitch. The last stitch hole may be smaller, so if needed, simply pull the stitch marker to create more space for your hook. Now let's start row 2. Pull off the working loop, turn your work, and make 31 single crochets across. Next, move the stitch marker into the first stitch. Then continue until you have a total of 31 single crochets.
What the dog doing?
After completing 31 single crochets, start row 3. Pull off the working loop, turn your work, and make a single crochet into the first stitch.
What the dog doing?
Once again, move the stitch marker into the first stitch of the row. Now to make a front post double crochet, work a double crochet around the next post stitch. Then make a single crochet into the next. And another front post double crochet into the next.
What the dog doing?
Now repeat this pattern all the way across, ending with a single crochet in the last stitch.
What the dog doing? What the dog doing?
At the end of row 3, make a single crochet into the last stitch to complete the row. Again, if you're having trouble inserting your hook into the last stitch, simply pull the stitch marker to create more space. Now let's start row 4, turn your work, and make 31 single crochets across.
What the dog doing?
So we make single crochets along the back of the panel and front post double crochets on the front. And we'll continue this pattern until we have a total of 26 side edge loops.
What the dog doing?
So on the left side of the panel, facing the front, start counting the side edge loops after this line next to the front post double crochet rows. So these side edge loops are the knot-like loops formed on every second row of single crochets. Now let's mark the first side loop. Next, begin counting from the stitch marker all the way across. Ending with this loop as your last count, and you should have a total of 26 side edge loops. Next, once you finish 26 sets of front post double crochet rows, start the second top band. For the second top band, we'll make only 4 rows of single crochets. First, turn your work and start counting from row 1 once again. Now continue making single crochets across until you've completed a total of 4 rows. Now that we've finished 4 rows of single crochets for the second top band, we'll begin the panel edging. Now turn your work clockwise, and we'll start working on the top of the ridge line stitches along the sides. So the ridge line is this dotted line that forms in every second row of single crochets. For the front post double crochet rows, the ridge line stitches aren't as visible, but you can easily find them by following the side edge loops, and the stitch hole next to each loop is the ridge line stitch. Now begin with the first side of the edging. Work 2 single crochets into the first ridge line stitch, which is the same stitch as the last single crochet. Next, move the stitch marker into the next stitch, and this will be our corner stitch. Now work 2 single crochets into the next ridge line stitch.
What the dog doing?
Continue working single crochets to each stitch hole next to the side loops until you reach the next corner.
What the dog doing?
Once you reach the next corner, turn your work clockwise and start working slip stitches across side 2, beginning from the marked stitch. First, remove the stitch marker. Then move it to the last single crochet, and this will be the corner stitch. Now begin working slip stitches across, starting at the first stitch of side 2 for the top band edging.
What the dog doing?
You may notice a bump at the back of the corner, but you can fix this by weaving in the yarn tail.
What the dog?
Now before proceeding with the next step, count the number of single crochet increases on the first side, starting for the first stitch marker to the last. Side 1 should have a total of 30 single crochet increases, which equal to 60 stitches. Now continue working slip stitches across side 2.
What the dog doing?
After working slip stitches on side 2, turn your work clockwise and work 2 single crochets into the next ridgeline stitch. Then place a stitch marker in the first single crochet to mark it as a corner stitch. The ridgeline stitches on this side are different from the other side. The stitch holes are much more visible, but again, just follow the side edge loops to ensure you don't skip a stitch. Now continue working 2 single crochets into each ridgeline stitch across until you reach the next corner.
What the dog doing?
At the end of side 3, again work 2 single crochet increases into the last ridgeline stitch. Again, work slip stitches across side 4 for the top and edging. First, remove the stitch marker and place it on the last single crochet stitch. Then continue working slip stitches across, starting for the first stitch on the side until you reach the next corner.
What the dog doing?
After reaching the next corner mark, secure the working loop with a stitch marker, then start attaching the metal plate and magnetic buttons.
What the dog?
First, find the center and attach the metal plate between the top band lines and the cross-stitch looping pattern as shown. Next, turn your project to the back side and sew the front part of the magnetic button just above the center of the metal plate.
What the dog doing?
After sewing the front part of the magnetic button, align the edges of the panel and sew the back part of the button onto the other side. After sewing both parts of the magnetic button, we'll proceed with making the side panels.
What the dog doing?
We'll start with the left side panel and return to row 1. First, remove the stitch markers, then work a slip stitch into the corner mark.
What the dog doing?
Next, chain 1 and make a single crochet into the same stitch. Now place the stitch marker into the first stitch. Next, continue working 21 single crochets in the back loops across. To avoid stretching, we'll make one regular single crochet into the first and last stitches only, and work in the back loops for the main stitches to create structured corner for the side panels.
What the dog doing?
Next, we're going to decrease over 2 stitches, and we'll do this 8 times. First, insert your hook into the next 2 stitches. Then yarn over and pull through all loops on the hook. Next, place a stitch marker in the first decrease. Now work 7 more decreases across.
What the dog doing?
After completing 8 decreases, place a stitch marker in the last decrease. You should now notice the rounded corner starting to form. Next, continue working 21 single crochets in the back loops across, then finish with a regular single crochet in the last stitch.
What the dog doing?
Now remove the stitch marker and work one regular single crochet in the last stitch. Now to start row 2, turn your work and make 22 single crochets across until you reach the next stitch marker.
What the dog doing?
Next, we're going to decrease 4 times, working only within the stitches inside the stitch markers. Now remove the first stitch marker and decrease over the next 2 stitches. Place the stitch marker in the first decrease. Then repeat this process 3 more
What the dog
times.
doing?
You can also tighten the stitches if you prefer a more structured and firm finish.
What the dog doing?
Next, move the stitch marker on the last decrease. Now continue working 22 single crochets across to the end of the row. After finishing row 2, we'll repeat the process for rows 3 and 4. First, turn your work and begin row 3. So again, start by working 22 single crochets across, then work a decrease within the stitches inside the stitch markers only, and don't forget to mark the first and last decrease.
What the dog doing?
Next, continue with another 22 single crochets across. For row 3, you should have 2 decreases in the center. And for row 4, you should have 1 decrease. Now turn your work to the wrong side and join the edges together with a slip stitch.
What the dog doing?
Next, work slip stitches into these loops only. First, remove the stitch marker from the working loop. Then insert your hook into the back loop or the first stitch. Then pull off the working loop. Next, insert your hook into the next back loop and across the front loop of the first stitch from the other side. Now complete the slip stitches across until you reach the next corner.
What the dog doing?
Once you finish the left side panel, start making the right side panel. Now repeat the steps on the other side, starting from this corner mark. First, insert your hook into the first stitch, yarn over, and pull up a loop to join the new yarn, then chain 1. Next, warp 1 single crochet into the same stitch, and you can also hide the yarn tail under the stitches.
What the dog doing?
Next, mark the first stitch, and continue working 22 single crochets in the back loops. Now repeat the steps as we did for the left side panel. Once both side panels are complete, we'll proceed with making the remaining cord for the strap or handles. First, make a slip knot, then chain 2, next, keep the first chain, then make a single crochet into the second chain. Now insert your hook diagonally into the side loop. Turn your work and make a single crochet.
What the dog doing?
Next, insert your hook into both loops. Turn your work and make another single crochet. Now repeat this process until you reach 50 cm length for the bag handles. You can make it longer if you prefer a strap.
What the dog doing?
Once you're finished, make a slip stitch and the last stitch. Next, cut the yarn and weave in the ends as shown.
What the dog doing? What the dog doing?
Now attach spring rings to both ends of the handle. Once you've finished the first bag handle, repeat the steps to make the second one.
What the dog doing?
Now attach the handles to the front and back sides of the bag. Next, hook the spring ring onto the second and third bow stitches like this. Then repeat on the other side. That's all for today's tutorial. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or suggestions. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching!
What the dog doing?